goodness, I really wish just once in a while I didn't actually need to demonstrate exactly what I'm talking about as I'm talking about it. So, for those of you that are just joining us, hi, welcome again to another episode of Happy AF. My name is Sam Bowker, I am your host, and before the technology decided to just fritz out of me a moment ago, I was asking the question, how do you cope when things don't go your way, right? Do you keep a smile on your dial, or do you scream and shout and you let it all out? So, just in case there was any chance at all that I was going to try and answer that question inauthentically, which honest I was not, but just in case, I just had to have a little demonstration myself of what I do when things go wrong. So this is what it typically looks like. Fuck! Oh my God! Ah! And then everything happens. I knock my drink over, and then the traffic lights are always red, and then I can't get somewhere, and then I wake up in the morning and I've got a sty on my eye, or my mouth is sore, and I scream and I shout and I let it all out. And I take a big breath and go, all right, is this going to matter in 3 minutes, in 3 hours, in 3 weeks, in 3 months, in 3 years? And I stop and I take a breath and I reset, okay? Because I'm human, right? I would love to say that I'm at that zen place in my life where when everything doesn't go exactly as I want it to, because yes, I am a recovering control freak. I say recovering because I do pretend to myself that I am actually not a control freak still, but let's be honest, probably still am a little bit of a control freak. See, now my glasses are fogging up. That's how much heat is coming off this today, baby. Anyway, so how do you respond? And does it ruin your entire day, or are you able to kind of shift through those emotions relatively easily? Okay, I've learned a few processes over the years, and definitely one of them is dancing it out. So as my tech just blew up then, for whatever reason, I went black, it wasn't working, I was already feeling really panicked because I've just, I don't know what I was thinking when I decided to pick 10 a.m. on a Monday for my Happy AF show, because Mondays are those days for me which, for whatever reason, is always like the start of the week, which means typically you've got a child that is starting school, and everything is not smooth, it seems, on my Mondays, right? And I'm wanting to change that, which is why I decided to start this show. And I also wanted to come from a place of, a lot of people look at people that are doing happiness and success and health and wealth, and they go, oh, well, it's easy for you because blah, 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 blah. You've got this and you've got that and you've got this and it's easy for you. You guys are only seeing typically the highlight reel, right? If you're following anybody on Facebook or Instagram or any of those places, they're not typically showing you the dark side. They're only showing you the love and light. They're showing you when things are going right, okay? They're not showing you the hours it takes. Now, we are, like a lot of the people that I follow, who I really think are amazing, authentic leaders and inspiring people, they are really starting to show up authentically, and they are really starting to show up and share really, truly what's going on. And so I guess today I really wanted to just reiterate that for you guys. When you are watching these shows, and when you are watching, like, it's so funny for me because every single week since I started this show, I had a grand vision for what I wanted to achieve, and the vision keeps building and it's becoming clearer and clearer and clearer. And every single week, the first episode, I literally couldn't start the dates that I had set because I couldn't speak. So that was the first week. And then the second week, I finally started, and then this is now episode 3. And every single week, I've had pretty, decent challenges that if I was not really committed to this, then I would just stay in bed. I would stay in bed and I would sleep it off or whatever. And I guess the question I want you guys to ask yourself is, happiness, I know the show is called Happy AF, right? And like I've said before, you can make the AF mean whatever you want. Any of you that know me well, you probably can fill in the blank pretty easy, right? But, happy and fun, happy and fabulous, happy and fit, happy and financial, happy and free, right? So for me, happy, the word, really just represents a state of being that I want to try my hardest to spend more time there, because it feels better to feel happy than it does to feel angry and sad. But that said, angry and sad serves a purpose too. So it's neither good nor bad, right? And so it's been really interesting to me because the story that we make up about an occurrence will determine how we feel about it. Now, a lacking in confidence Sam, somebody who really didn't truly believe in her mission and her vision, could make up a story about the last 3 weeks that said something like this: you're not on the right track, what you're saying is not important, who do you think you are, you're not helping anybody, like seriously, this is a joke, everybody's laughing at you, this is just ridiculous, oh my god, like why don't you just quit while you're ahead, clearly it's not important, look at all the obstacles that are happening. Like, I could make that story up. And I guarantee you that the old me, and I'm not even sure how long ago, right? But I'm just going to say there's the old me and there's the one I'm constantly working on, which is a frame and a mindset of constant and never-ending improvement. And I don't ever believe I'll get to the point where I actually want to be. I want to be blissfully dissatisfied. I heard Ed Milet, a guy I really like, and he talks about, I'm pretty sure, I hope I'm quoting him properly, he talks about blissful dissatisfaction. So he's blissfully dissatisfied. So he's blissfully happy with where he is today. I will find the correct quote and make sure I'm quoting him properly, but it was along the lines of, he was blissful with where he was at today, but tomorrow, if he was in the same place as he was yesterday, then he would be dissatisfied. And I feel like he joined blissful and dissatisfaction together. And I thought, that's kind of a cool way of thinking about it, right? Because we really want to work on growth. And I actually think that's what the key of happiness actually is, right? I think that there's lots of different things that we can do to change our state, to change our mindset, to rewrite our belief systems, our stories that are going to help us feel happy. But I truly believe, like, at the core of happiness is progress, right? But we live in a culture of perfection. And the problem with perfection is that we as a young person, it unconsciously happens that so many of us are raised to seek outside validation, to know if we're doing good, right? And I know, because I am a recovering perfectionist, and like, I definitely know that I fall into that trap very easily. I fall into comparison still. Like, I've done so much work, but I fall into comparison just like everybody else. And I really wanted to share something funny that happened last weekend, right? I had the best weekend. Before I share this little story with you though, I just want to tap into, how are you guys going with moving your body? If you haven't seen any of the prior episodes, I asked you, find a song, dance around. If you've got an emotion in your body, dance it out. So when my tech issues just happened then, I put on one of my favorite songs, and I can't remember the name of it, but I will post it up later because it's a really great, and it was a really kind of like positive, angry, intense, and I just needed to shake out the energy that I had in my body from all my technology going wrong and from the morning that I've had, right? So how are you guys going with that? Have you done it? Have you found a song? I know a few of you have posted some up and shared with us your songs. If you haven't done it, go find a song that you can really get your groove off to, and you can use that as a way to shake your state, okay? But back to the whole comparison thing, right? It's funny because I started off sharing with you about all those people that you follow here on Facebook and Instagram and places like that. You're only seeing their highlight reel. Typically, they're not sharing you the stuff that's going wrong, right? And I really want to show it for you and be as authentic as I can and show you when stuff goes wrong. I want to share with you that it isn't all highlights. And I hope that you find that helpful. But over the weekend, because I have decided this year is a year for saying yes. Yes to fun, yes to new adventures, yes to new opportunities, because I've always been a bit of a workaholic, and although I will continue doing my work because it's my passion, it's my mission, and I love it, I want to really make a conscious effort to do more connection and fun and spending time with the people that I love. And over the weekend, I got to do a lot of that. And one of the things that I did was I went to this painting, I think it was like called a painting and Pinot Party. And I don't know if anyone's ever been to a painting and a glass of wine and a lunch party. They're hilarious, okay? And I have to tell you, although I know I'm creative, painting is definitely not one of my superpowers. Now, years ago, I would never have even gone to one of those things because, like, in my head, I would have gone, oh, I hate painting. I don't want to paint. It's going to look crap. It's going to be no good. Like, yeah, that's not my cup of tea. And in fact, I've been invited to these things in the past, and I've been like, hell no, right? But anyway, I was the one that actually saw this, and I went, you know what, I want to go. And I invited my bestie who came along, Saskia, who's always up for any fun, God love her, and she came along. Now she sits down next to me, and she says, I paint like a fifth grader, I think, or fifth grader or 5-year-old, right? And any of you guys that know my friend Saskia, she is very artistic and creative. She's like the super mum, and she's the one that does the craft with the kids. She's the one that mums like me look at and go, oh, yeah, that's so not me, right? I would outsource that stuff. It's totally not my superpower. Good at other things, that's not it. Anyway, we sit down. They're not bringing the wine soon enough. We decide we definitely need a glass of wine to start the show. So we go and get a glass of wine and we start this painting, right? And it all starts off fairly easy. Draw a blue line here, draw a thing here, and we sort of like midway through, I'm looking at my painting and I'm looking at everybody else's painting and I'm going, yeah, no, mine doesn't look anything like that. And I could hear the voice in my head start, that's shit, that's no good, who did you think you were here, right? And it doesn't matter how much work you do, you'll still hear some of those voices, right? But I was actually just laughing at it because halfway through I was like, you know what? This thing I am painting is never going to look like that thing they want up there. I don't know what it was supposed to be, like a house with the woods and the mountains and the countryside, and it was supposed to look like that, right? But I concluded mine was not going to look like that. And so I went off reservation and I just started changing mine up. I decided that instead of just mountains, mine were going to be snow-capped mountains. That I definitely copied off the chick in front of me because I saw she was doing that and I thought, that looks really cool. I'm going to do that because why wouldn't I? I love mountains and I love snow, and that makes perfect sense. And then my little hut just looked really strange and I was like, needs to kind of be maybe a straw bale hut. So I started drawing some lines, and then I decided that the flowers that we had, or whatever it was that was supposed to be there, it was like supposed to be like thickets of lavender, I'm not even sure. I just started putting little flowers on things, right? And by the end of it, my piece looked nothing like anybody else's, but I had actually gotten to a point where I actually liked it. And I actually brought it to show you. I should have had it right here ready, but I'm going to go and get it. Now here's the thing, when I walked in today, I just want to share something with you, right? When I walked in today, my beautiful assistant says to me, she says, oh my God. She said, that's so cute. Did your daughter paint that? And I'm like, no, but it does look like a child painted it. I agree. And so I was like, yes, this is exactly why I'm bringing this painting in, because even though it looks like a child painted it, here's what I got from doing that event. I got to spend 3 hours with my beautiful friend, laughing and chatting and connecting and catching up, which definitely filled up my cup and made me feel happy. There was other ladies there, and they were the coolest group of women, I'm telling you. Some of them clearly were not beginners, and they were really good, but they were so generous, and they're like just such a beautiful, beautiful group of people, right? And everybody was kind of giggling about their artwork and kind of, you know, like taking the piss out of themselves and laughing at themselves, and it was such a fun time, right? And I will find the name of the event and I will post it here in the group, because if you're on the Central Coast, the lady Susie that ran this event, she was a hoot. She was so funny, and it was at a Bowker, and the wind kept blowing things over, and we were it was just a funny day. Now I'm gonna show you my version of this painting, and then I'm gonna post up later my beautiful friend Saskia's photo, and I'm gonna put hers up just purely because, not for any reason other than she actually kind of kept mostly with what it was supposed to look like. So you'll get, but you can also just see, like, I suppose she did a flick of her wrist and it just like, it looked really good. I did a flick of my wrist and it just looked a mess, right? But as soon as I let go of comparing it to everybody else's and I accepted that it was never going to look like anyone else's, I really started enjoying myself. So, I'll tell you one thing I know for certain, okay? If you spend your life looking at yourself and looking at someone else and doing that comparison, you are never going to be happy. Because whatever they are doing, right, they are always going to be a better version of themselves than you, right? And everybody has their natural gifts and talents. Painting just doesn't happen to be one of mine. But I do believe that if I was really driven and motivated and I wanted to get better, I do believe that, like many things, confidence, public speaking, anything like that, I believe it is a skill and it can be learned. I'm not super driven to get better at painting, but what I did find is that by doing that and starting with this kind of like base, it kind of did make me think, you know what, I am probably going to get an easel, because a few weeks ago when I was at my girlfriend's house, my daughter started painting. And they had all this fancy stuff that we didn't have. But my daughter painted these quite amazing paintings. And truthfully, I never thought she would be super creative, because I had a story in my head. I'm like, well, I can't paint, so why would you be able to paint? And we've got to be careful with that, right? Because my daughter is a lot like me, but she's not me. Thankfully, she reminds me of that all the time. So, and that actually, just before I show you, I'm just like going to drag this out, because I know you're sitting there with bated breath, waiting for my masterpiece that I'm going to show you. But it reminds me of a line in a movie that I saw not that long ago, and it is also one of the best movies I have ever seen. And it's The Pursuit of Happiness with Will Smith and his son, like Jaden, right? And there is a scene in this movie, and if you haven't seen it, this is on the Happy AF list as well. Pursuit of Happiness, go and watch it, right? Especially if you have a child, a young child. And especially if you're like I used to be, and you would fall into the victim story of, well, I can't because, or I can't do that because this happened in my past. If you ever do stuff like that, go watch The Pursuit of Happiness. And it'll give you the kickstart you need to actually take the actions to get you to where you want to go. But there's a line in the movie where this kid is bouncing his basketball, and he's shooting up the hoops. And Will Smith, the dad, I've forgotten the character's name, but it's Will Smith. He looks at his kid and he goes, why are you practicing that? You're never going to be really any good at it. I wasn't good at basketball. You're not going to be any good at basketball. You might as well just quit while you're ahead. And this little kid grabs his basketball and he throws it down on the ground. And then his dad picks up the ball and he looks at him and he says, don't you ever let anybody tell you what you can or can't do. Don't you ever, and I'm going to ruin this line, but it was along the lines of, don't you ever let someone tell you that you can't do something. If you want to be a basketball player, go and be a basketball player. Don't let somebody else's small-minded limitation stop you from being who you want to be. So I am so driven to get people to understand that you can do what you want to do. Now listen, I'm not saying, I really, I heard someone state this, I think it was Dan Pena. Dan Pena? Again, I'll find the quote on this as well. I was watching, he's like a billionaire. I didn't really know who he was till I watched this podcast. But he said, parents have been lying to their kids for years. They've been going on and saying things like, you can do anything you want to be, you can do anything if you work hard enough. And he said, you know what, that's bullshit. You can do anything if you have enough passion for it, right? And I believe that. And I've definitely changed the way that I talk to my daughter after hearing that, because I do believe you can do anything you want to do, but I do believe that you need a passion for it. And I do believe that it's not just some natural ability which is helpful, it's often the people that don't have the natural ability but that have the passion that achieve the results, because they build resilience up first, because they get knocked down again and again and again and again, right? But they get back up. And it's not how many times you get knocked down, it's how many times you get back up. So I really love that movie, because in that moment, like, I remember watching it, I burst into tears, because I was like, yeah, how many of us don't fulfill our destiny because we let somebody else's small-mindedness tell us what we can or can't do? How many of us struggle with anxiety or depression or a lack of confidence or a lack of self-belief because someone above us struggled from that, and told us a story about, well, you know, anxiety runs in the family, mental health issues run in our family. How many people have struggled with alcoholism that have a story that my dad was an alcoholic, my mum was an alcoholic, it's genetic, I'm an alcoholic. Now look, I'm not arguing, you can keep any of those stories, but are those stories going to serve you? Now I'm never going to be a Picasso, and I don't have a massive passion for it. So it's very unlikely that I'm ever going to get exceptional at it. But I did find it quite therapeutic, and it did kind of bring out a bit of joy, and I'm wanting to be more playful, and it fits with my vision for the year, which is fun, and it's something that I could do with my daughter. So there's a whole bunch of reasons why I think it's a good idea to maybe continue doing a bit of painting, right? Now this show, I'm really passionate about it, which is why, unless I am like dead set incapable of speaking like I was the first week, I will turn up whether I have a sty in my eye like I have today, or whether I'm, you know, struggling with anything. I'm going to do everything in my power to be here. And instead of making a story up like I just told you before, I'm going to make the story up in my head every time something doesn't go exactly how I want it to go, that this is just God, the universe, whatever, saying, do you really want this? Do you really think you can? Because there's going to be obstacles. And if you think a sty or a sore tooth is going to be the biggest obstacle you're going to come up against, and you're going to quit when that happens, trust me, when the real stuff comes, you're not going to be ready. You're not going to be prepared. So I'm committed, and every time one of these things happens, that's the story I'm choosing to tell. And you can do that with anything, because it's your story, it's your show. So this is the choice you get to make every single day when you show up with anything, okay? Are you going to allow obstacles and roadblocks and things that don't go exactly how you want them to go, when you want them to go? Are you going to allow that to become your excuse as to why you don't do happy AF? Or are you going to use that as fuel to push you further forward? Because if you are really clear about why you are doing something, then you will always find a way. There will always be a way, but the why you have to be clear about. I've been learning, I guess, over the last 7 years, especially in clinic, working with clients on a daily basis. I know I'm really, really good at helping people get out of their own way and start living a better life. And I know that I have the tools and I have the resources, and I know it makes me feel good, and I know it makes them feel good, and I'm very passionate about it, and I love it, and I like doing it. So I'm not going to let anything get in my way. And I'm committed to that vision of 1 billion people. And no one jumped in here and gave me the answer. But I asked you guys, I think last week, I found the answer out for myself, because that's another thing, right? Don't allow that story to stop you from getting somewhere. Oh, I asked someone to do that for me, they never did, and so that's why I didn't get it done. So I asked you guys a question. If my vision was to help 1 billion people do happy AF, right? Free, fun, fabulous, as fuck, whatever you want it to mean. Just if I helped 1 billion people do that, right? How many people were there on the planet? And it came back at, there is about 7.78 billion people in 2020. They were the numbers, right? So I'm not very good with compounding. Maths has never been my superpower, but if you do the maths, you know, 1 billion people helps another 1 billion people, and then we could so on and so forth. If we kept doing that, imagine, like, it wouldn't take us that long, would it? So, are you all ready for the masterpiece? And are you committed to helping me aim high? Are you making some lofty goals for yourself? Are you committed to the process even if obstacles get in your way? And it's okay to scream and shout and let it all out, as long as after that you can kind of laugh, dance it out, and then get on with your day, right? Don't let something or someone stop you from getting to where you want to go, because you are in charge of that shit. That is on you, okay? No one can make you feel anything, even though we've been taught they can. No one can make you do anything unless you choose to. Everything is all up to you, okay? It's on you. So happiness needs to be a goal, right? That needs to be the goal. And I'm going to teach you all different things that you can do. Definitely creating time and connection with friends is definitely a huge one. I think that if you don't have your tribe, that is definitely an easy place for you to end up not feeling good. So this is a tribe. If you have nobody else but you just connect in with us here each week, this is your tribe. We are your family. We're here to love on you and support you and give you everything you need to get to where you want to go. Okay, I know, I've dragged it out long enough. I'm going to show you my masterpiece. This is the masterpiece that I created at my painting. Okay, how do I go? Now, I know, hold the applause. It's pretty amazing, right? Now the funny thing is, yes, it may look like a child painted it, but there's nothing wrong with that, because here's the thing. Okay, that's enough. You can't, you're going to have to come and see me if you want to see it close up. Here's the thing. I was in my child's space when I did that. So, and I don't want to be an artist, but it was fun. And it did definitely make me feel happy. And so, what are you going to do to get outside of your comfort zone that's going to help you feel a little happier? I want to hear some suggestions from you guys, you know. I will answer all of your comments wherever it is that you're watching this. If you're watching it on replay, hashtag replay. If you're watching it in YouTube or Spotify, listening to it on a podcast, like, just tell me, like, what are the things that you do that help you feel happy? Have you got your happy song? Are you dancing it out? Are you conscious of the comparison thief? Yeah? That comparison thief will get you every single time, and it doesn't matter how much work we do. We're humans, we do the comparison thing. Alright guys, that's it for me today. I know we went a bit over, but with the technical issues, I wanted to make sure we didn't miss out on a thing. Join me here next week, 10 a.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Time, to see how to become happy AF. My name is Sam Bowker signing out. I love you guys. Have the best day. Make it count. And are you sharing the happiness? Are you sharing this with somebody else? Because if I help you get happy and you don't help someone else, then that feels like an epic failure, right? One person is good, two people are better. Love you guys. Have a great day. Bye.